Hi everyone, it's Rachel and Anthony.
Hello.
From Don't Crop Me Now. Today's job is going to be planting all of these beans. We'll start with planting our runner beans. So we tend to grow runner beans up a climbing structure such as this wigwam, which can be simply made with canes or any other similar strong rigid material. My main planting tool on our no dig beds tends to be dibbers. So this is a dibber that's actually made out from an old fork or spade handle, and what we tend to do is just make a deep hole with the dibber. I tend to make these on the inside. I don't think it really matters that much. It just means that in the early days, you're not going to be stepping on the plants, and you can hoe around the outside if you need to. Once I've done that, before I put the plants in, I usually water into these holes. Sometimes afterwards you'll need to use the dibber again just to remake the hole, but at least I know that the base is going to be nice and moist really. If we also have a look at our runner beans, these are not the best of our beans so far. So you can see that they've got quite a bit of slug damage. I mean, luckily we don't tend to get that much slug damage once things are out on the plot, but they love the greenhouse. I mean, ultimately there's just loads of hiding places. So if we come and have a look close on some of these plants, for example this one here, you can see the slugs have had a really good go at that leaf, but the growing tip here is still in place, and you can see it's growing from that nodule there. So what I would probably do is take that leaf off, because that leaf's probably going to die anyway, and that will just encourage slugs to come back and eat some more. So I would take that off, but I would still plant that plant. That will grow fine. Similar vein for this one as well. So you can see there, I might just pull that bit off, but that plant is fine. So if you have got a bit of slug damage on your plants, don't panic. It's not like the end of the world. Even if they're taking the growth tip out, the problem with that when you've got climbing plants like beans is when you take the growth tip out, it will then predominantly grow side shoots from this direction, where really what you want on a bean plant is to let it grow up a little bit more than before, even if you're going to pinch the tops out. So if you have planted seeds and you're starting them off and they're looking a bit slug ridden and not the best, don't worry, have a good look and see if you can salvage any of them. And don't forget, you can also pop a bean seed into your hole, planting hole, at the same time as putting your plant in. And then if this one doesn't do that well, then in a few weeks that bean should pop up anyway. So here's the runner beans that we've just planted that have been well watered in. So these two are a mixture of our saved runner bean seeds. So to start off with, I'm going to put these in just to remind myself by the sign. And also runner bean called White Emergo. So these should be white runner bean seeds. So I'll stick them into there just to remind me which varieties that I grew. We have also got a few of these, which are a little bit different. These are Heritage Seed Library half runners called Mountaineer White. So again, these are a white runner bean. I'm not sure what they mean really by a half runner. I mean, they look a lot more like a climbing bean, to be honest. But I don't want these ones mixed up with the main beans, runner beans. So we're going to put a separate frame up for these, because I forgot that I've done these as well. So we're just going to put that up now. One of the things that we've got into growing over the last couple of years is beans for drying. And last year we got quite a lot of seeds from the Heritage Seed Library, and one of them was this one called Hoppy Black, which is a dwarf French bean. And to be honest, the yield on such small plants was absolutely amazing, and they were really, really lovely. A bit like a black bean you'd use maybe in like Mexican type food, and they are actually from some of the native Indian community in America, some like really old heritage ones, so they're quite interesting. So I'm going to be planting these beans predominantly in this centre section here, in between where we've just planted the runner beans. At the back here on this little frame, we've got some peas, not very tall ones, they grow to about this high, so I will have to net over these because the pigeons will love these. And on this frame at the back here, we're going to put some climbing heritage peas. To finish off this bed, we're going to put on this last wigwam here some climbing peas. These peas are called Show Perfection peas. So they're actually a variety that's developed particularly for showing vegetables. So they're very long pea and they have a lot of peas in, and it's a very large pod. I just think they're actually really tasty. So they were quite difficult and expensive to find these seeds. So these are actually grown from my saved seeds, along with some of the other climbing beans that I'm growing. We save our own seed. So I'm going to plant these in a very similar fashion on this wigwam to complete this bed. So the question is, should you start your bean plants in plugs and plant them out, or should you plant them direct? So really, it don't crop me now. We tend to start most of ours in these plugs, but as I mentioned a little bit earlier on the video when I was talking about runner beans, don't forget you can plant direct, and you can also plug plant in and put an extra bean in the hole at the same time, which will just double your plants, which is fine on a wigwam structure. I wouldn't have more than 2 plants at each section, so if you've got 1, you can certainly put another bean in. If you have got 2 plants in a plug, you can plant 2 plants in a plug together if you would wish as well, what I regularly do, or you can separate them out. But if you can see, we get a nice healthy root structure, and that'll fit right into your hole. So really what you should be looking for is the plant that has got a bit of a leader out of, so it's above the level of just having your 2 starter leaves, and that it's not completely root bound. So that's sort of a really good size to plant out. After a really long day planting, let's just talk through which varieties we have grown for this year. So if we look at this bed, I think we've already mentioned these beans. So this is the original bed we started on. So just to recap here, these are hoppy black beans, these small dwarf beans that are for drying. We've then got 3 different types of runner beans. We've got these half runner beans, whatever that means, I'll have to look that up. Mountaineer white, and then a combination of white emergo and some of our saved runner beans at the back. If we then have a look at this bed here, we'll start with this wigwam. So these are all types of climbing French beans. So this one is called purple TP, which is actually quite a nice one to eat fresh, but also the beans are really good dried, and we use them to make our baked beans. We did that last year and they were really good. So we've grown 1 wigwam, mainly really for drying. Probably will eat just a few fresh. We've got this one here, which is called Carter's Polish Climbing Bean. So this is a heritage variety of bean for drying, a white bean. We've got this one, which is yin yang. So that's like a bi-coloured white and black bean. That looks like the yin yang symbol. Again, that's for drying. So the majority of these are for drying. On the back here, unfortunately, I managed to mix these 2 up, so I've had to put both labels in. Hopefully, they do look very different when they grow, so should be able to separate them out quite easily. We've got Cherokee Trail of Tears, which is actually very similar dried black bean to the hoppy variety, and also mixed in there Zelda, which is a climbing bean for drying. I think you can eat Zelda fresh actually. I didn't bother, but they're like a little striped bean, quite nice, very creamy. We've got ones called trout bean, which is a heritage variety for climbing. I've no idea what that's like. It just looked like quite a pretty bean, so that's why I got it. We'll have to see. This one, oh, I can't even pronounce this because it's a French one. Array de Baca. I have no idea how to pronounce that, so I'll put that on the screen. My French is embarrassingly poor. 1 year at high school was it, so I have no idea with that one, but that is a climbing bean for drying. We go on to this bed. We've got from the Heritage Seeds Library, Veitch's Climbing. I think that one you can eat fresh and dried, but majority of these ones I will keep for just dried. This one at the front, Striped Bunch, which is a climbing bean, a little bit similar to the one we had over there actually, but it's a heritage one, so that's different. I've not grown that one before, but the bean looks quite cute, so that's why I got it. got Trezenyevac. Again, this was just another one from the Heritage Seed Library that looked a bit different. I will put that on the screen as well because that's another terrible pronunciation. Cocoa Bicolor. This is a Heritage Seed Library bean that we grew last year. Really productive and really lovely. It looks a bit like a cross between a white bean and a Ballotti bean. It's sort of half and half. So I know they are really good for drying. These ones are our saved butter beans. Always really productive, these, for us. So we've got some more over on the other plot as well. This one. Succotash. This is a little black dried bean as well, but a climbing variety. So we've not grown that before. That was from the Heritage Seed Library, so be worth a look out to see what they're like anyway. So all the ones in there are really predominantly going to be kept for dried beans. So we're on plot 4 now, and we've got these 2 main beds for beans on plot 4 with the larger sort of A-frame structures. So the outside of this one here is Cobra, which is our sort of standard pencil green bean that we grow for eating fresh. I've decided to do just the one line on here of Cobra just because I've put quite a lot of other dwarf beans that are for fresh as well, and we're just going to have so many. So on the other side is a mixture of a few different beans that we will keep for drying. So what I'll have to do is just pinch these out when they reach the top, so just try and keep them sort of semi-separate. I can keep the Cobra beans as well for dried at the end. When we've had enough of them, I'll just leave them all on and harvest them all for dried at the end. So there's a few more. This bit at the end with the bigger beans is more butter beans. And then we did have a few varieties that just didn't come up very well in the cold weather. So I'll go around the other side, can't reach. So we've actually got, this is a pea bean, which is sort of a dark maroony coloured white and maroon one. There's a couple of them in there, and I'm going to put a few more just in that hole. So we've got three canes of those, and these ones are pea bean, which again are quite similar actually. So those ones are dried ones that didn't germinate with great success for us. I don't think that's anything to do with the beans. I think it's just because it was so cold. And then the rest of the ones here are again, these are ones that are more used for drying, I think. So this one is Jacob's Cattle beans, which is like a sort of mottled type, really interesting looking bean. So that's a drying, but it's a dwarf one. And then this one, Ernie's Big Eye, which is a white bean with a big sort of black spot on it, hence the name, I guess. And again, that's from the Heritage Seed Library. That's a bean predominantly for drying with. I think you can eat it fresh if you want. A lot of these, a bit of a dual purpose, I guess. So if we come over here, the back wigwam is for our Ballotti beans, which we save. I'm going to sow a lot of them direct, so there's only a few of them in, and the rest I'm just going to sow direct tomorrow. And then we've got some dwarf runner beans. So we put these canes in because they say they're dwarf, but they did grow quite big, maybe like 2 or 3 foot last year. So I put these canes in just so we've got something to tie them into, so they're not flopping completely everywhere. And then here, Rockin' Core, which are one for eating fresh. So these ones on this bit here are really mainly for eating fresh, really, and then the dried Ballotti beans. And then just over here on the bed, just beside Anthony, we have got a bit of an overspill of the hoppy black beans because I planted loads of them, so I've just got a bit of an overspill there as well. So they're the crops that we are growing for this year's bean crop. So I hope you found that interesting. Have a look on our blog, and we talk a lot about growing beans for drying. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.